And as the story goes, it's like, hey, how you doing? And my Steph says, things aren't very good. She goes on to explain, my brother's been missing for weeks. Nobody's heard from him. We're working with all these officials and agencies. Nobody's been able to help. We're really scared. And roommate Steph is, of course, shocked to hear something like this, but says all the right things, offers her full support. And at the end of the call, as the story goes, roommate Steph says, hey, if there's anything I can do, just let me know. And my Steph responds almost jokingly or sarcastically. She says, unless you know someone who knows Assad, the Syrian president, please just pray. And roommate Steph says, wait, let me call you back.
What?
Yes, sir. BeatiDudes Nation, welcome to the BeatiDudes, a show for Christian men walking arm in arm as we just put the Lord at the forefront of everything we do, all for Jesus. Hey, I'm Jeff Shufflebein. Glad to be here today with Paul Kolker.
Howdy.
And Nick Besner.
College football starts this week.
What?
I'm excited.
What? Well, predict the game because this will come out a few weeks from now.
Oh, yeah. A&M's going to win 31-27 and cover the spread and win.
31-27. Everybody listening, if that ends up being the score, you actually get a sticker. You just have to drive to Las Colinas to pick it up. It's yours to have. Just claim it when you get here.
That's right.
We do have socks. I would give away a pair of socks to the first 10 people that show up if that's the score. Okay.
Sure.
Hey, let me
You're
tell you one
upgrading from a
quick...
sticker to socks.
That's a big upgrade.
I actually want that score to happen.
Yeah.
Well, people were wearing the stickers on their legs, but it was less comfortable, so we bought socks.
Well, you heard his voice. We are welcoming today Sam Goodwin to the show. Welcome, Sam. How are you, buddy?
Great. Thanks, Jeff. It's great to be here. Thank you.
That's our live studio audience.
We've had one before. They were a little less lackluster than that.
Yeah.
Wait, I said less lackluster?
They were more
luster?
They were just lustered.
That's what we call them.
Yes.
They had a lustre about them.
That's right.
Yes, quite.
You know, it's good to be back here in the Lucid Private Office with you guys where we film all of our shows and really just grow in humor and holiness together. And Sam, how much did you prep for this show, Sam? Come on here with the BeatiDudes.
I probably could have prepped more. If I'm being honest.
Well said.
I think we always say that.
Yeah.
Then you fit right in.
Great.
Where did you come in from today? Yesterday?
I live in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, I would have
Washington,
said somewhere not west of here. That's what I would have come
Somewhere
up.
not west of here.
Yeah.
I have to tell you, Jeff, I'm having a little bit of a crisis in my life right now because I'm thinking about getting some. I want to get a pet, and I'm thinking about getting maybe a few donkeys. But I'm wondering if you guys know anything about that.
Only maybe 1/3 of us has any clue how that works.
Yeah, and I don't know about donkeys, but Jeff knows about miniature donkeys. I don't know if...
I think, though, that if we're thinking about like things like kids and donkeys, statistically...
Why did you roll those into one?
Sure.
There's a point to this.
Okay, all right.
Statistically, we have a donkey apiece.
At the table.
Yeah.
Oh,
Because
yes.
Jeff has 4.
Oh, I was not aware of the number.
Statistically.
And
Yeah.
kids, I can't do that math. We have a lot of kids per person here,
Lots.
statistically.
Yes, statistically.
We're above the American average
Yes.
number of kids.
Thank you very much.
very
Sam,
Always above average.
what year did you show up in Texas for the YCP National Gala? That was like a year and a half ago, 23?
Yeah, it was April of 23.
Oh, my
and I
goodness.
was really honored to be invited to
That's
speak at the gala dinner. And that was really my first exposure to YCP. I was somewhat familiar with the organization, but when Jen and her team invited me down, it was a real great opportunity.
For anybody who's maybe this is their first episode watching us, what's YCP and what was your involvement with that?
So YCP is Young Catholic Professionals, and as I mentioned, I didn't really know too much about the organization, but have come to know a lot more. There's now, I believe, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but roughly 40 chapters around the country catering to 20 to 40-year-olds who are Catholic professionals and looking for a community of like-minded people.
Awesome.
There are probably some other words that can be included in that description,
Sure,
but that's
sure.
that's one of the ways that I think about it.
I feel like when their staff watches this, you'll get high marks for
All right,
your answer.
all right. Well, then
It's friendship.
Call that a
It's
win.
networking. It's faith formation. It's just keep going.
Well, and we're called to be salt and light
You know.
out in the world. So if we don't have a religious vocation, you have a lay vocation, right? I mean, then that's one of the ways to do it is to network with other Catholics and kind of find out how they're living out the faith in the
Yeah,
world.
No doubt.
Awesome.
No doubt.
Sam, we're going to open this wide open. You asked us like what questions we're going to ask, and we told you that would happen as we're speaking. Our mouth would start moving and questions would come out. What is the
Yes.
maybe take us into a little bit of your history, because at some point a huge national organization says we should have Sam speaking on stage in front of 900 people. How does that happen?
Sure. A little bit of my background. So I played hockey growing up for most of my life, and in fact, I lived here in Dallas for a year. In 2007 and 2008, I played junior hockey in Frisco for the Texas Tornado.
Wow.
And really enjoyed my time here in Dallas. And then from there, was fortunate. I played Division I in college at Niagara University in upstate New York. And when I graduated in 2012, I took my first professional job in Singapore. And I originally only planned to be in Singapore for about 3 months, but I ended up staying for 6 years, and it was a fantastic opportunity, a great way to begin my professional career.
I've heard great things about Singapore.
It's a tiny city-state, a quarter the size of Rhode Island, but it's a very comfortable place to live in.
Oh, yeah. It's a city and a country.
Yeah.
It's like the Vatican,
Yeah.
but in Southeast Asia.
Correct.
Okay.
Minus
Oh,
the Pope.
right.
Well, minus the whole religious affiliation.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, keep going with this.
So during that time, I traveled as much as I could. I was in the heart of Southeast Asia, had the world's best airport in my backyard, had a little bit of flexibility in my work schedule, and I took advantage of the opportunity to explore as much of the region and beyond as possible. And just a personal preference when I traveled, I didn't like to repeat places. So even if I went somewhere and had a great experience, the next weekend or holiday, I would just go somewhere different. And I put that formula into play for about 6 years. And in early 2018, I realized that I had traveled to about 120 countries in the world.
Whoa.
And
I realized.
Just a few ahead of me.
it,
Wow.
it was at that point when I remember thinking, well, how many are there? I really only traveled because it was fun and I enjoyed it. But most importantly, I learned from it. Travel was the best education I'd ever had. It was never about ticking boxes or checking places off a list. But I got to that point. I did a little bit of research. I learned that there are 193 fully recognized UN sovereign states. And so I thought, well, maybe I could go to all of them.
Is it a
and
pretty fluctuating
You're
number?
over halfway in
The-
6 years.
the
So.
competitive athlete kind of kicked in, like setting goals and working toward achieving them, and things kind of evolved from there.
Wow.
But like 193, did you have to like look it up again the next year? Because there's like one that dropped off, 2 that got added, 1 got split. Like what? Right,
So
that stuff
that-
happens a lot.
Yeah,
It
I mean
does.
the world's newest country is South Sudan. It became a country in 2011. So
Oh,
you
it's
kind of-
okay. So it's getting
yeah.
old now.
Yeah.
It's like you,
It's
Paul.
a teenager.
Getting into those
Wait.
teenage years. Yeah.
I just mean younger.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's all.
Nick is the youngest person in the room.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
South Sudan looks the youngest.
You're very diplomatic, Jeff.
All right. Wait, did you go to South Sudan?
So I've from 2010 to 2020, I traveled every country in the world.
Every.
Yep,
did
and I sometimes
Oh my
I
goodness.
sometimes say, name a country, I'll tell you a story.
Wow. North
That-
Korea.
Hold on. That's the entire bonus episode. Is we're just gonna name countries and
Oh,
get
okay.
stories.
So come back on Friday.
Yeah, absolutely.
Come back on Friday if you want
What?
to hear some
All
of those
of-
stories. Yeah. 193 countries.
Feel so fortunate for the experiences and the perspectives. I've been to Mass in 65 countries. I've visited Catholic churches in 115.
Wow.
Have you ever met another person who's done what you've done?
There are about 150 or 200 people now who have been to every country, and I know a handful of them. We kind of.
But you can never figure out where to meet because you're always.
They're each in a different country all the time. That's the rule. You
gotta
gotta.
try this. Yeah.
Sam's got the U.S. on lock right now.
That's right.
That's right.
Nobody
Dallas,
can
Texas.
come here.
Vatican Valley.
That's
That's
right.
it. That's it.
This is
Vatican
it.
Valley.
That's where you are right now.
Yeah, that's
That's what we call it.
Vatican
this.
Valley.
Yeah, you're in Amen corner of the Vatican Valley as part of the Irving option.
The Irving option.
it. You just say it with a lot of confidence, and people believe
I
it.
was very confident.
Right.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stick around. Okay, so you went. Wait, when you hit all of them, because it wasn't box checking, do you keep traveling after that?
Trying to go to the moon next, or like
Mars.
Mars?
Big
yeah,
Elon
so,
guy.
You and Elon Musk
sorry,
are good friends.
never never met him, but I actually I'm not traveling very much internationally now. Most of my travel now is around the U.S. So I'm happy to be here.
What's like the craziest story that ever happened to you that might be a book sitting on the table when you were traveling?
Yeah.
Okay, so
What's the? I mean, is
Yeah.
there anything behind this thing?
there
It's a book.
yeah, I can try to give you the Reader's Digest version.
We'll take whatever version you got.
All right. So, in May of 2019, in the spring of 2019, I had traveled to 180 of 193 countries in the world, and it was at this point when the next place I was going to go to was Syria, a country that's, as some of you may know, was experiencing arguably the most tragic humanitarian disaster of our lifetime. By conservative estimates, 500,000 people have died in the conflict. The UN stopped counting at 250,000. But interestingly, one of the most significant things that I had learned through my travels is that places that are negatively perceived, or that Western media tells us we're not supposed to like, these were often the same places where I had many of my best experiences and where my perspectives were most meaningfully impacted. So despite everything that was happening here, I was confident that the same was going to be the case. And in fact, the reason that I chose to enter Syria on a Saturday was so that I could attend Mass there the following morning. And little did I know, God had other ideas. And I didn't make it to Mass that Sunday,
Okay.
or any of the next 9 Sundays.
Okay.
On May 25th, 2019, I went to the northeast region of Syria, and just 2 hours after arriving, I was walking through a roundabout on the way to meet up with my guide when all of a sudden this black pickup truck abruptly pulled up next to me. 2 armed men jumped out of the back seat and instructed me to get inside. And thankfully they weren't violent, but I didn't have a choice. And I was scared, confused. I had no information or anyone to help. I was desperately trying to understand what was happening. And these men were loyal to the Syrian president, Bashar al-Assad, and told me that they were skeptical about my travel history and my travel motives. And they went on to accuse me of espionage, of being an American spy and collaborating with terrorists. And nothing like this had ever happened to me before. They
come to this conclusion because you had to go through customs or something to come into the country, and what? They just start tracking you?
You've been to 180 countries. You're suspicious.
But I'm just saying, like, these are guys in a black truck who, were they part of the government? I'm a little, like, how do they know to come and get you?
Yeah, so I actually don't know exactly why. It could have been wrong place, wrong time. Could have been travel history, as you mentioned. But they accused me of being some kind of threat to their national security, and they ended up holding me for 9 weeks in some pretty uncomfortable situations, and I can talk all about those. In fact, we were at a movie last night, Triumph of the Heart, and there were a handful of things that I thought it was a fantastic movie, but there were a handful of things in there that I actually experienced in various ways. I was in solitary confinement for...
I thought about you during this. Did it bring something up in you to see, like when you see it in a film, or is it been long enough? Like,
yeah, thankfully, I mean, I've been so fortunate to be surrounded by incredible people, this overwhelmingly purposeful support system, but there's still things that I see or hear that, puts me back in those places. And last night, there were things that were on the screen, and I was just, it just puts a lot into perspective of me. Just so grateful that things ended peacefully, but I was held in very different situations for sure. But
Can you describe those? Like
overlapping.
nobody has
Yeah.
listening has ever been in Syrian confined or captivity. Can you describe some of this?
Yeah. So I was held for the first 27 days in solitary confinement. The only human interaction I had was for a few seconds in the morning and evening when the guards brought bread and boiled potatoes and water. There was no window. It was all concrete. I had nothing but a small blanket to lay on the concrete floor as a bed.
What do you do
Yeah. Wow.
in one day, much less 27 days sitting there?
I did all kinds of things to pass time.
Tell us, yeah.
I would pretend the cell was full of people and tell stories. I would remember hockey games I played in my life and recount every detail I could remember. I would exercise. I did push-ups, sit-ups, core exercises. I would sing songs. I leaned on all kinds of things for strength, but nothing in that cell was more important than my faith. My prayers became this uninterrupted conversation with God. I was constantly talking to him, pacing back and forth, saying things out loud. Even though they told me not to talk, I said, God, I'm here. I'm listening. What are you trying to tell me today? What can I learn today? What are perhaps the positives about my situation today? And I'll never forget, my number one prayer was always, God, please keep my situation safe and peaceful. Please keep me physically unharmed. My second prayer was then about the timeline. So if this was all going to end peacefully, then the next question was when. And this was the prayer that for me became the most tricky and intense. And I remember almost positioning it as like a business deal. I said, God, I know you have a plan, but is it possible? Would you consider an adjustment to the timeline?
Yeah.
Can that work with your plan? And then I would finish all of my prayers by saying the rosary, and I would dedicate each decade to something different. I prayed for my family, my friends, anybody who I thought might be working to get me out of this situation. I prayed for world peace. I also, last thing I'll quickly mention is I prayed very hard for the courage to forgive my captors.
Yeah.
And through that, I came to discover that I was working to forgive people who weren't even sorry. And that's strength. Forgiveness is not a feeling, it's a choice.
This is heavy.
This was supposed to be a religiously funny podcast.
No.
Right?
That's,
Isn't that what-
that's
isn't
a
that- isn't
tagline so people click the button. There's nothing funny
Trojan
about
horse.
Yeah, there's nothing funny. It's all religious.
The team at Aquinas Wealth Advisors believes that good values and good returns are not mutually exclusive. Using a tech-smart and morally sound approach, they provide investment alternatives that align with Catholic teachings without sacrificing returns. These days, faith-driven investors are finding it hard to know where their money is going. They have no visibility into what their dollars are supporting, but there's a better way. Thanks to the Faith and Finance Score from Aquinas Wealth Advisors, you can look into your current holdings to see what you're supporting and make a switch to an advisor that aligns with your values and gives power to your voice. Check out AquinasWealth.com today.
Hey BeatiDudes, it's Jeff here. When Nick and I set out and we started this company, Undivided Life, we decided to not use traditional healthcare, but we went with Solidarity HealthShare because we thought it was an affordable and ethical alternative that matched the needs of our business and our growing families. Since then, my family put Solidarity to the test. We've had pregnancies, babies, emergency room visits, even a brain surgery for one of my children, and Solidarity has been an incredible partner and has also had the cost and the ethical approach that we love. Here's a link for you to go check it out. learnmore.solidarityhealthshare.org/BeatiDudes. This is your chance to be in solidarity with the Shufflebind family.
Hi, it's Paul Kolker from the BeatiDudes here, and I just wanted to share with you guys that I also, outside of the show, perform improv comedy on a regular basis with a group called Divine Comedy. So what we do is we come up with everything on the spot, so whether you're looking for faith-filled, fun, family-friendly comedy for your youth night, or whether you're looking for clean comedy for your corporate event, Divine Comedy can perform for your group and even get you in on the action. So if you'd like to hire us to come out and perform for your next event, check out DivineComedyImprov.com. Divine Comedy, an inferno of fun.
And I'll say I'm so grateful to be able to share some of these things in sometimes even a humorous way, but it's taken time to to get to that point and reflect so
that goes on for 27 days.
Mm-hmm.
The solitary.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, but your total time you said was 9 weeks.
Yep.
So you still have like another month plus.
Yeah.
What does that transition to?
So on day 27, I was taken out of solitary confinement, driven across town to the outskirts of the city, was taken to this facility called ADRA, which is the country's central federal prison. And I was put in a cell with about 40 other men. And I stayed here for the next roughly 35 days for another month. And the other inmates, perhaps a bit counterintuitively, became friends. They were all Syrians. We cooked and shared food together. There was they taught me Arabic. I taught them English. There was a prison basketball court, and I taught several of them how to play knockout.
Nice.
So
Syrian summer camp. Jeez.
it was kind of like that a little
High
bit.
security.
And being at ADRA was unquestionably an upgrade from solitary confinement, but it had its own challenges, a little lack of privacy, trying to deal with relationships and things like that. So.
Were you worried for your safety in that part more than solitary?
Interestingly, the other inmates were some of the most incredible people I had met anywhere in the world. I learned very quickly that virtually none of them were true criminals. They were just victims of this corrupt system.
Criminals of the state.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Criminals of the state.
Political prisoners.
Political prisoners. They had been caught up in the instability of the conflict. And I'll never forget it. About 2 weeks into that second month, I was talking to one of the other guys who spoke some English, and I got to know him. And I said, hey, everybody here's being so nice to me. It was kind of hard to know what to expect in a place like this. And I'll never forget, he said, Sam, in Syria, all the good people are here in prison because all the bad people are outside putting us in here.
Wow.
Whoa.
Was there any of this like, you're American, when you get out of here, come get us?
There was a little bit, actually.
Yeah.
And in the past few years, since I was released, several of them have also been released, and I'm now in touch with them today, and I try to help them when I can. I went to Turkey last summer and met up with two of them. My mom came with me, and she was in tears meeting them after they had helped me
That's incredible.
so much.
And beat him in knockout.
Beat him in knockout.
With your mom.
Yeah, exactly. But and one thing that I just would quickly mention is that one of the challenges that I think I have with this story and my books here, and goes into more details on a lot of these things, is that it's just the way that I portray Syria, because this is one of the most culturally, historically, religiously significant places in the world. Mary Magdalene was of Syrian descent. King David conquered northern Syria. Paul the Apostle's conversion took place on the road, of course, to Damascus. And these people and the country are really fantastic. It's just heartbreaking what's happened over the past 13 years. Some of the best hospitality I've ever experienced anywhere in the world has been across the Middle East, particularly with these people. So I have a little bit of a challenge with how I portray the people and the country. But this is an experience that I had, and it was challenging, but there's been so much good that's come from it.
So the book is called Saving Sam. And where can people find it if they want to grab a copy?
Thanks. It's on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, everywhere that books are sold, and it's on sale September 10th. available for pre-order.
Oh, it
until
hasn't
then.
come out yet.
Hasn't come out yet. September 10th.
I just read the whole thing while we were sitting here
So, depending on when we release this episode, it
this
might.
week.
Oh,
It'll be this week.
Oh, there you go. So
Yeah.
it's coming out.
Yeah,
All right.
because next week is the
Yeah.
end of. Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
it is.
there you go.
Yeah.
All right.
You're the
Get
oh, did you know
perfect
this?
timing.
You're the kickoff to season 4.
Well, I'm going to try not to screw it up.
Yeah, I know.
Is there
Our
like
last
is there
season,
pressure with that?
There's a ton of pressure.
Yeah.
The only other people we've let do that are Bishops and Kevin Fitzpatrick. No, that's not true.
Okay, so this is a religiously funny podcast, so I'm going to try to make a joke.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Hit us with
Okay,
it.
then we'll
Oh,
try to
man.
make jokes back.
Okay. So I came home, and the night I got back to St. Louis, I was at my parents' house in St. Louis with my siblings. I'm the oldest of 5, and my younger sister, Stephanie, she says to me, "Hey, Sam, I want you to know that Daniela, who's a friend of Stephanie's and kind of a family friend of ours, says, when you went missing, Daniela said she was going to go to Mass every day until you came home." Okay? My brother, Paul, who's a year and a half younger than me, he's on the other side of the table. He hears this and he says, "Oh, really? Like, when you went missing, Sam, I told God I wasn't going to Mass until you came home." So they kind of covered all their
Everything-
bases.
yeah.
However God was going to work through this, they had their bases.
They got
covered.
it.
On average, statistically, they had all been going to Mass.
Right. Exactly. Kind of like the donkeys.
Yes, exactly.
All right, here's mine. And then, as they finally walked me out of the prison, I looked back at my 39 new friends and said, "Syrian ya later."
Okay, if you were watching on YouTube, Jeff was holding the book open, as if well
As
played,
if
sir.
As if he was
well,
reading.
Well played, sir. That was very well
I
done.
was like, wow, you really pulled it right
Yeah.
to the walking out of prison.
Whoops.
Yeah, I was suckered by that as well.
So, your family at home knew you were missing. So when you traveled, was it like you told them, "I'm going to Syria," and they're like, "All right, see you in a couple weeks"? Or like, how do they know you're missing?
So the news of my disappearance was essentially learned through me going dark. I was always very good about.
Oh, because you're like
keeping in
sharing
touch.
stuff online and
Yeah.
look at me, I'm
So
in
then
Syria.
Maybe
I don't mean it
your-
like
maybe-
that, but I mean
maybe
like
maybe your employer was like, "Hey, where's Sam?"
Right. So it was just by going dark.
So, and the reason I'm asking, I'm trying to lead to like what happened in the home life. Like you're in this
Yeah.
Syrian prison. What's everybody else going through?
So one of the most I'll never forget when I was released, and it was released through the Lebanese actually, but I came to Beirut, and when I walked into this office, in addition to dozens of government and military intelligence officials, journalists, my parents were there,
Yeah.
and culminating this moment that was indescribably emotional, one that many people thought would never happen, and frankly, just this breathtaking display of God answering prayers. But a couple minutes later, I said to my mom, I was thinking about everything that had happened in the past 9 weeks, and I said, "Hey, I have a story for you," which was kind of a weird thing to say, but it was what was on my mind. And I'll never forget, my parents looked at each other, and then my mom looked back to me and she said, "Well, Sam, we have a story for you too."
All right.
And when I was trapped on the inside, I didn't know about anything that was happening on the outside. So as I mentioned, the news of this situation was learned by my family just by me going dark. I was always very good about keeping in touch, especially if I was in more of an unstable place, and I had communicated that I was going to be there for just a few days. So when that time passed and they weren't hearing from me, they began to worry. My father works in civil engineering. My mother's a registered nurse turned educator. Both of them are smart people, but they're an average family from Middle America. They had no idea what to do when their
Sure.
son went missing in the Middle East.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But thankfully, they began to act, and they reached the FBI field office in St. Louis, which pretty quickly escalated some of the highest levels of the U.S. government in Washington. But throughout my captivity, my family had kind of a roller coaster experience with the U.S. government. But early on, the government communicated 2 key things to my family. The first, they said, "We strongly recommend that you keep this out of the news. Keep all of the communication very tight. Don't let the press get a hold of this, because if they do, and Sam's captors, depending on who they are, if they feel that type of pressure, they might just kill him."
Oh my gosh.
The second thing they said was you should really, they said you should really manage your expectations. We have no diplomatic or economic ties with Syria. There may not be a whole lot we can do here to help. 3 weeks later, my younger sister, Stephanie, who was 25 years old at the time, living in Nashville, she particularly became entirely overwhelmed with everything that was happening, and she decided that she needed to call someone and talk to them about this and just blow off some steam,
Kind of not following the rules.
which was against the recommendation
Yeah.
of the U.S. government of keeping all of the communication very tight. So she decides that she's going to call her former college roommate, who is actually coincidentally also named Stephanie. So there's this phone call between the Stephanies. And
The Synod of the Stephanies.
yeah. And as the story goes, it's like, hey, how you doing? And my Steph says, things aren't very good. She goes on to explain, my brother's been missing for weeks. Nobody's heard from him. We're working with all these officials and agencies. Nobody's been able to help. We're really scared. And roommate Steph is, of course, shocked to hear something like this, but says all the right things, offers her full support. And at the end of the call, as the story goes, roommate Steph says, hey, if there's anything I can do, just let me know. And my Steph responds almost jokingly or sarcastically. She says, unless you know someone who knows Assad, the Syrian president, please just pray. And roommate Steph says, wait, let me call you back.
What?
Yeah. And it turns out that roommate Steph is Lebanese, and her uncle is good friends with the head of Lebanon's general security, kind of like the equivalent of the FBI here in the U.S.
No.
And he was able to go to his counterpart in Syria and secure my release.
What?
No way.
So this was a situation where
Your little sister owns you now.
I'll make a comment on that, but
You're
this was
in the hole.
this was,
you're not getting out. Like, the deficit is forever.
it's a big hole. It's a big hole.
Wow.
But yeah, it was truly a situation where the FBI, the CIA, President Trump, the Pentagon, Pope Francis was involved, Russian intelligence, Middle East NGOs, private sector security companies. They were all struggling to be effective. But my sister's college roommate could identify a path to get an American hostage released from captivity. And that is, if you want to know more about how that's possible, it's in the book.
Wow. So stay in touch with your college roommates.
And be good to your
nice.
sister.
Be good to your
To your
sister.
sister, yeah.
Hey, Stephanie, can you get me that glass of water? No.
No.
I've done enough for you today and every day.
I'll never forget, a couple days after I came home, we were at my parents' house, and I was in the kitchen, she was in the family room, and we were kind of realizing that, I was relatively healthy and the dust was kind of settling a little bit. And we were switching places. So I was going into the family room, she was coming in the kitchen, we passed each other in the hallway, and I'll never forget, we just kept walking without breaking stride. As we walked by each other, I said, hey, Steph, thanks for getting me out of Syria. And she goes, yeah, sure, anytime. just kept walking.
Gosh.
Don't mention it.
Yeah. So people ask, do you get Steph a special Christmas gift every year or something like that? But it's a big hole. As you said, it's a big hole.
Well, and that's an image right there, I think, of redemption, right? Just that you almost can't repay it, right?
Correct.
So the only thing to do is just to
Live
say
it
thank
forward.
you and to live it forward. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. And for me, there's only one explanation for all of that makes any sense. I truly believe it was divine. There's no other explanation. You can't say these coincidences, all these different things. There's only one explanation.
Amen.
What's different about life through your lens post the release? And I'm sure there's physical and mechanical things. There's also probably emotional and spiritual things. Like whatever that means to you, what's different besides just growing older that you see differently after already having traveled 180 countries at that point? You've seen a lot.
Yeah, feel fortunate on that front. I mean, my career is totally different, but I'll also mention that my just perspective on the way that I approach challenges in general is different. I really try to put things into perspective and into context before making a decision, and I think that kind of level-headed perspective has been really helpful.
And you said your career's different. You're doing some, like, you're on stages a lot now, right?
I never could have expected where life was going to go, but I run my own speaking business now. I speak full-time, a lot of corporate work, a lot of faith-based groups, a range of different audiences and organizations, and that's what I'm doing now.
Real questions and dumb questions. One, how do people find you?
So all the normal social media channels. Would love to hear from anyone listening. Please feel free to reach out. Sam Goodwin.
Something you love about speaking, something you don't love about speaking.
I love the impact that it can have, and something that I don't like is just sometimes there are a lot of logistics setting up events.
Dumb question.
No,
Do you play solitaire ever?
It's been a while. Why do you ask that?
I just didn't-
Solitary.
Just a random question.
No, just
Are you afraid of solitary stuff?
yeah. That's what I was going for.
Are you going to prank me right now?
No.
No. Just if you play solitaire, does it remind you of being stuck in a concrete
I was
prison?
I was making a really stupid joke.
All right,
You did preface it.
I have
with
a
dumb
better
one.
Yeah.
dumb question than Paul. I'm not trying
Setting
to
the
be,
bar.
It's
A
like
dumber-
it's
a
like
dumber
a dumber question.
Yeah,
a bummer. It's a better dumber.
nailed it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Ever given a speech in Syria?
I have not. I have kind of a complicated relationship with Syria. One of the former inmates recently invited me to his wedding in Damascus, but I don't think I'm going to make it. Unfortunately.
Wow.
But
Incredible.
I mean, that's well. Okay. Did you travel much though? Like after that, like internationally?
Yeah, to like get back on the horse. And
Yeah. What was that like?
Let's
after?
go somewhere else in the Middle East, or
Anywhere.
South Sudan.
Yeah.
I don't know.
yeah, so I came back, and after several months, well, when I first came home, my family pretty much shackled me to the kitchen table, wanted to throw away my passport.
That's fair.
And I was also
You can go to Texas.
yeah, I was kind of dealing with a range of things, like trying to deal with learning to survive survival, which included a range of things from managing occasional episodes of PTSD
Sure. Yeah.
to all the way to some early on some kind of interesting conversations with my bank, attempting to convince them that being held hostage in a foreign country is grounds for them to forgive credit card late fees.
I would imagine that would qualify.
It didn't.
It didn't.
What?
It didn't. To no avail.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
But after several months of reflection and putting things into context, I did, as you kind of mentioned, I became very committed to not letting what happened conquer me. And
Yeah.
one of the most significant steps I took to addressing that was to continue my journey. And on December 31st, 2019, I made one final trip, and that trip was actually to the country, the nation that is home to more Catholics than any other in the world. It was Brazil. And with that, I traveled every country in the world, joining a group of only, at the time, about 100 people in history who had ever done that.
Wow.
Sam, are you telling me that Brazil was the last country on your list?
It was the last one.
This reminds me of Forrest Gump, where they're naming off every type of shrimp, and I think the very last one is shrimp sandwich. And I'm like, you named 1,000 things, and sandwich was last?
Why didn't you have a shrimp sandwich?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, that was how
And
it
you
played
hit
out.
like all the other South American countries around it, but not
and it's
Brazil.
not
Right, I never
small.
went.
It's big.
It's big, yeah.
Huge chunk of South America.
Yeah.
I'll save Canada for last.
Yeah. Oh, that is incredible. Do you guys have like a Facebook group or something like that y'all share?
Yeah, it's not like official. We just kind of know each other a little bit.
Okay.
And kind of connect when we can, but it's
Like a
people from kind of all over.
Okay.
And, but it is fun to bond over that, that
Yeah.
common experience.
there's
for
not
sure.
like a group me thread or something.
No,
you guys
there's-
are on.
No, not officially. Nothing official.
We're awesomer than everybody
No,
else.
that's definitely not the case.
No.
But
It's us and Neil Armstrong.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What-
by going to the moon, you've been to every country.
Yeah.
you've seen them all.
once.
You've looked
Seen
at
'em
them
all.
all. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
another serious question. You weren't married going into this. It didn't sound like there was like this like place going on there. So entering a dating world after that, did you put this on like your online profile? Also, serious question, like if you're on a date, how do you bring up the part where you were a Syrian captive and the president of the United States was trying to get you freed? Like, this is bananas.
Yeah.
Thank you. And
Like, do you save it in your back pocket as
That's like a third date.
Well,
Yeah.
No, but do you like one up the date? Like, do you wait until they
I
tell their
played
biggest
volleyball in
story?
college.
Yeah.
You played volleyball? I was in a Syrian prison.
I played hockey in college. No.
No, that's just incredible. I mean, like, yeah, how do you broach that topic?
Yeah. So I don't really know. It's I guess oftentimes it's usually just known beforehand, like someone sees it or like knows. I wish I had a better answer because it's a great question. I just it's usually some way or another. It's just like
It comes up.
no, yeah, it comes up and.
Well,
I
you're on
wish I had a
stage
better
a lot.
answer.
You're
Yeah,
on
you're
stage
a
like-
better
a
answer.
lot.
I'm
Like,
just trying to imagine that
yeah.
first
You've
couple
got
months.
social media, I'm sure. Right?
Your Facebook says in a complicated relationship with Syria.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's all. It's
I
right
looked
there.
at your
I wish I
LinkedIn.
had a
There-
better
your
question.
LinkedIn had a
better answer.
90 or it was like a 37-day gap in there of experience. I was like wondering what you were
What's
doing.
the
there.
the
Yep,
experience
a lot
gap?
of
Yeah.
We saw all those late fees. They were.
It's,
And if anybody's college roommate knows somebody at Chase Bank, that would really.
that'd be helpful to you. Yeah.
No, for you.
Yeah.
No, I'm sure that's all long
Yeah.
past.
Yeah.
Man, okay, so
Amazing.
first of all, if you're listening to this, check out Saving Sam. It's this week. If you're listening to this show the day it drops, it's this week. It's coming out.
That's awesome.
I've heard this story a year and a half ago. I was blown away. I think I did that like thing I do to people where I'm like, Sam, my name's Jeff. We're going to be friends. Don't worry about it right now. Everybody else wants to talk to you. But in the future, you're going to go sit at a small table with me and two guys, and I won't even be the one next to you. I'll just be nearby. Right? I mean, I feel like we know each other.
And
But
so do I. And sorry it took me a little bit.
last night I
to
walked
get
up
it.
and hugged you without saying a word. I've never been in the same room with you.
We said 0 words. 0 words. Because I think there was a presentation was going on. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Jeff also just loves a good dramatic intro as well. So-
It was a little dramatic. I
Right,
think
yeah.
it was on brand there.
Yeah.
I think it was.
What's funny is I do it 20 times a day knowing that something's going to pan out.
It's just
Plant enough
about-
seeds.
That's
and-
right.
Yeah.
Shooting shots. One of them's gonna go in.
I never tell people
Knockout.
I'm shooting shots. Oh, I'm slapsticking. Is that what you do in hockey?
Slapsticking?
Slap
Slap shot? Is
High
that maybe what
High
you're...
slapping.
High sticking.
It's called the flying
You're
V.
kinda, there's the
You know
flying
what?
V.
We're going to put
Yeah.
you in the penalty box. We'll do the show for a little bit without you. We'll bring you back
Is that
in
the
2
prank?
minutes. Is that the prank?
2 minutes, yeah.
I think the guy has done more than enough time in a penalty box. Just saying.
That's right. That's right. Would it be okay if we just read a little piece of this just as a kind of a closeout to the show?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, we're just literally just going to pick a page. We're going to do a dramatic reading. We actually have, it's called a reader laureate. It's kind of like a poet laureate, only just an amazing voiceover guy who does mouth coaching.
Is that you?
No, it's Paul.
Okay.
He's going to read from the page
200.
Stephanie.
Steph Goodwin.
All right,
That
let's
first-
see where this goes. I mean, this is
Absolutely.
the end of our show. And we're
Yeah.
just going to hear a little. We can't give it all away, or else we'd have to pay some copyright. Blah blah blah.
That's how those things work.
Blah, blah, blah.
This is audible. You can listen to this at 1.25 speed.
Here we go. Steph Goodwin. The first weekend in July, my dad's brother Justin had invited our family up to his lakeside cabin in Sunapee, New Hampshire for the weekend. Mom and Dad couldn't make it. They were in D.C. that weekend having meetings about Sam. None of my other siblings could make it either, so I went alone and hung out for a long weekend, spending mornings on the lake and afternoons on the deck of the house. We had recently told Uncle Justin and his family about Sam, so they were being very supportive. It was nice to be out in the country, surrounded by people I could actually talk to about what we were going through.
Time out.
This is
Are we
Stephanie.
leading up to where she's about to make the phone call?
No.
Okay.
Different
But
situation.
this is her perspective, right?
This is her in first person.
Oh.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
another.
Okay. So I need to have a little more of a feminine voice. It was Saturday afternoon, and we had spent the morning on the water.
This is the voiceover professional you were talking about, right?
If you need any mouth coaching for your speech,
Stop calling it that. That's not how I advertise.
But everybody else loves
How
it.
do you advertise it?
It's just vocal coach is the
Not
action.
mouth coaching.
Mouth coaching?
Jeff loves to make things awkward. If you've listened this far, please share, like, and subscribe.
Hang in there, Paul.
That was well timed.
Thanks.
Yeah. Hey, I'm not going to make this awkward, but just read while I do.
No, you're rubbing my shoulder. This is bizarre. All right. It was Saturday afternoon, and we had spent the morning on the water. I was tired and just lying on the couch in the living room to chill when I felt my phone vibrate. I looked at it, and there was a new message on Instagram from someone with a strange username. Hello, I'm Dinah. I don't know who this is. Your brother is with my brother in the prison. Oh,
perfect.
Oh, nailed it.
I was
Professional.
Sam wants to know if Tag has been able to communicate. This is Russian. I don't know why. Wow, but okay, so he reached out via Instagram.
Wow.
That's incredible.
Gosh, I just told my kids today that nothing good comes from Instagram. Oh, they're going to watch this episode.
So social networking can be good in the sense that we're connected to way more people than we ever were in the past.
Once you're over the age of 18.
Well, that's probably the kicker. Yeah.
So I think there's a ... because if you want to hear the rest of this chapter, you got to read the whole book.
Yeah. It's
We're not going to do it for you.
yes. Yeah, this is awesome. This is so cool.
When you're ready to release the audio version of this book on BeatiDudes.com, we're ready for you.
And
I'm going to take you up on that.
I know a mouth performer. No. I know a vocal coach who can handle this.
If I need a Russian voice, I'll let you know.
Perfect.
He actually can do every voice. I was impressed by how you got Ivan right, or whoever, Dinah, whatever the guy
Dinah.
was. Yeah, that's impressive. Okay, so find Sam on the socials. Oh, book this guy. What do you talk about? Let's just finish this. What's like the main 2 or 3 things you talk about?
So I tailor all of my presentations for audiences,
Yeah.
but my primary pillar is uncertainty. So essentially, I was pushed to a point of overwhelming uncertainty, truly life or death.
Sure.
But through that, I learned some things that have helped me and some things that I think can help all of us when we're facing uncertainty in our own personal and professional lives. And also, if I'm speaking to a faith-based organization, then it's usually the same story and drama, but I pull out a message of, I was talking a little bit earlier about how I was praying, how my faith helped me through this experience. And so depending on the group or audience, tailored for those.
Incredible.
Sam, you blessed us. I hope everybody gets a chance to see you speak, hear this book. Hear this book from Paul. I do mean that. Hear this book.
There
Yeah.
you go. Yeah.
That uncertainty leads us to another opportunity every day to be reminded that we're supposed to follow the Holy Spirit, that we're not in control of this, but that God does have a plan. So we're going to see on the bonus show, we'll see the rest of you in whatever God has planned for us next. And we will also,
See you in the Eucharist.
God bless you.
Thanks for tuning in. If you'd like to join us at our undersized table, subscribe to the video version of the show on YouTube by typing @ that's the symbol @, so shift and 2 on your keyboard, @the_BeatiDudes on YouTube. We'll see you there.